I want you guys to take this recipe and be versatile with it and make it with Miyoko's because it's the best. Hi everyone, my name is Chris Tucker and I'm a master baker. Today I am so excited to make for you these gingerbread cinnamon rolls featuring Miyoko's European style cultured vegan butter. This dish is perfect for everyone's Christmas morning. Very first thing we're gonna do is measure in our aquafaba. If you're not familiar with aquafaba, it is the brine of a chickpea can, and we're doing 100 grams. Into that 100 grams of aquafaba, we are going to add in 1 tablespoon of our sugar. So we're gonna go ahead and engage our mixer and turn it on high and let this whip to stiff peaks. Cinnamon rolls are one of those things that you probably thought you lost out on when you went vegan. And for me, creating the perfect brioche recipe was one of those tasks that I knew I had to accomplish. So being able to share this recipe with you today is really special to me. So when we're talking about stiff peaks, we really want to see within our aquafaba that it started to create some of that rippliness. It has some of these really nice peaks that hang on and it doesn't fall off of our whisk attachment. We are going to be using the unsalted butter only for the dough. The rest of the recipe, we're going to actually use the salted version of the Miyoko's. If you add too much salt to a dough, it will actually inhibit the yeast from working properly. And this is 150 grams of butter that's going to be going into our dough. And we're just going to be melting this. We're getting the butter melted at a relatively early stage of the recipe because we want to give the butter time to cool. And the reason for that is, if you put something in a dough that has yeast in it and it's too hot, it will actually kill the yeast. Even though this isn't completely melted yet, I'm gonna go ahead and take it off of the fire because those little residual bits of butter will continue to melt because of the heat that is in the melted butter already. To this same exact pot, we're gonna add our almond milk. And this is just a single cup of almond milk. And we're only looking to bring this up to 110 degrees. So for this, I'm going to actually use a thermometer because we have to be super precise about this. We are going to be mixing our bread flour. So we're doing 525 grams of bread flour. We're adding a tablespoon of ground ginger. We're adding 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. We're doing equal parts of nutmeg, ground clove, and salt. And that's a ½ teaspoon of each. And then we're just going to whisk this up. Baking during the holidays is one of those things that really just brings back memories of being in the kitchen with my grandma and her teaching me some of her old recipes that I still make to this day. Of course, I veganized them, but it really just reminds me of some of those really warm times from days past. To our warmed almond milk, we're going to add 10 grams of yeast. And to that, we're going to be adding 1 tablespoon of sugar. This is going to feed the yeast. Once the yeast and the sugar hit each other, there was already like this activation. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a stir, and that's gonna make sure that our yeast and our sugar and our warmed milk is all combined properly. So the remainder of our sugar that we have here, we're gonna go ahead and just dump it into our dry ingredients. And now this is ready to go into our aquafaba mixture. We're gonna go ahead and add our dry ingredients to our mixture of aquafaba. And your aquafaba is going to deflate some, and that's totally normal. Don't freak out when your aquafaba kind of loses some of its body that we whipped into it. It's fine. We're also going to be adding our unsalted melted Miyoko's butter. It has cooled now, so it's at the proper temperature. Our yeast is ready to go. We're gonna add that to our mixture here. So I've taken my whisk attachment off of the mixer and I'm adding the dough hook. And the machine is pretty much gonna do the rest of the work for you. If you don't have a machine at home, you can do all of this by hand in a bowl with a wooden spoon until the dough comes together, and then start kneading it on the counter until you're left with a really smooth dough. The dough has come together beautifully. So we're going to lightly cover this with a tea towel. We don't want this to dry out. So we want it to be covered, but we want it to be nice and loose. And then we're going to place this in a nice warm spot of the kitchen and allow it to rest and do its thing for about 90 minutes. While our dough is rising, we're gonna go ahead and make our filling for our cinnamon rolls. We're starting with our Miyoko's salted butter. This butter has been softening, so it's at a perfect room temperature. And how do I know that? Because if I press my finger into it, it leaves a perfect indentation in the butter. So for this step, we're doing 170 grams, and this is going to just combine with a little bit of molasses. Molasses is one of those really key ingredients to making the perfect spicy gingerbread recipe. So now that we have those two ingredients in our bowl, we can go ahead and bind these by using our hand mixer. If you don't have a hand mixer, you can do it by hand. So this is about it. That's all you really have to do. We're looking to just combine it. We're looking for it to be nice and glossy. The mixture that goes on top of our Miyoko's butter and molasses mixture is just a combination of brown sugar, clove, nutmeg, cinnamon, and ginger. The thing that's great about using all of these spices is that once they go in the oven and the temperature cranks up, you automatically feel like it's the holiday season. I'm gonna go ahead and prep my surface and just get ready for rolling out our dough. The biggest tip that I can share for you whenever you're working with dough is to keep a ruler as well as a little bit of tape around. So our recipe calls for us to roll the dough into a 10 by 20 inch rectangle. When it comes to baking, everything is about precision. And so taking your time and really allowing yourself to do these little extra things in the kitchen is when you go from just being that home cook to more of that master level baker. We're just gonna get a little bit of flour down on our bench. That's gonna help our dough from sticking. So our dough is perfectly proved. I know because I'm pressing my finger in it and it's not filling in right away, and that's the best way to tell. So we're gonna go ahead and dump it out onto our bench, and then we're just going to lightly dust the top of it. I'm gonna slightly change the shape of this because we don't want it to be a circle that we're then trying to force into a rectangle. We're gonna start by just rolling down, rolling across. You really want to roll from the middle out. We're gonna just continue rolling this out until we hit the perimeter that we set up earlier. Once we've gotten this all the way together, we're going to trim the edges. So if you get a little bit off shape, don't be too concerned with it. Once you start rolling this dough out, you'll really be able to just smell all the spices that we've packed in there. I want you guys to take this recipe and be versatile with it. So make it savory, keep it sweet, but just make it because it's beautiful, and make it with Miyoko's because it's the best. We're gonna go ahead, because I'm a little off on this end and I have a little gap over here, so we're gonna go ahead and trim. So we'll start with this edge. And I'm just going along the edge and kind of slicing to make just one long uniform edge, just so we can create a really nice uniformed log of cinnamon rolls. The very first thing we're gonna do is add our butter and molasses mixture. This is gonna be our base. This is spreading so beautifully. Okay, so the next step is to let it rain with a little brown sugar and spice mixture. And this is all gonna go on here. And once it starts to look like this and you've pressed it in and it's all pretty uniform, it's time to roll. So we're gonna start, and the very first thing that I do is I tuck this corner over, and this is the inside of our swirl of the cinnamon roll. So we want this to be very tight. And now I'm really just tucking and rolling and pinching. We're just going back and forth. When you get to the ends, your ends tend to want to fray out. So I always kind of give them a poke back in. And we just continue rolling until we have the entirety of the log together. When it's in the oven, it's gonna perform just like animal dairy butter would without the animal. So we have our log together. We're gonna get our ruler back out. We're gonna measure out little portions of dough and just do little marks in them. We don't need to go deep. We just need to see exactly where it is that we're gonna be cutting. We're just making cuts every 1 3/4 of an inch along our dough. Now we're gonna go in with unflavored dental floss. You slide the dental floss under your entire log of dough, and then all you're gonna do is go along every single mark that you've already created and you cut. Dental floss this is the perfect way to not crush your rolls. If you're cutting it with a knife, you collapse all of those beautiful spirals that you created when you rolled up your dough. If you're ready to bake these like I am, you're gonna let this go ahead and prove for another 30 minutes. And then we'll pop them in the oven to bake. Now that our rolls are in the oven, we're gonna get started with our frosting. And of course, the main ingredient is going to be our Miyoko's vegan butter. So we're gonna start with just 113 grams. We're gonna pair that with a full container of the Miyoko's cream cheese. All of these ingredients are room temperature because that's how they combine the best. It doesn't have to be at super high speed. It can just be at a lower speed. While it's creaming, we can go ahead and add our cinnamon and our molasses. I'm gonna start adding in our powdered sugar. We'll know this is done as soon as we don't see any lumps of powdered sugar. I'm gonna just take this off, scrape everything down really well, and then just give it another good mix with my spatula to make sure everything is incorporated really well. It's just one beautiful, creamy, luxurious Miyoko's frosting. Our rolls are done baking and they cooled for about 15 minutes in the pan. I'm gonna go ahead and start by putting our icing on top. You just wanna be liberal with it. I'm gonna go ahead and dollop all of them to get started, and then I'll go back and spread the rest of this throughout the tops of these. But you get like a really nice dollop on there, kind of like I just did on this one. As this sets, it's going to slightly melt into the rolls and get nice and gooey, and that's exactly what we're looking for. That's it right there. These are our vegan gingerbread cinnamon rolls featuring Miyoko's vegan butter. It's so good. It's so caramelized. The butter flavor that comes through from using Miyoko's is beyond. Make these for your non-plant friends and fool them.